And here we are, Jeff. The Stoop is back, and it's back in black. We are finally back. Yes, it's been a few weeks since you've heard from us, but here we are. Welcome to The Stoop, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Jonathan Ragus, and alongside me, as always, is my partner in crime. He is the Shark, Jeff Porrini. What's going on, brother?
Me? I'm back. It's great to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight here on The Stoop. A lot went down, John, in a few weeks since we've been on. We had a lot going on. A lot of fun stuff going on as well. Some of it you may have heard. So, I know you're a little more up to speed, so fill everybody in on where we've been.
Absolutely, absolutely. So since the last time you heard from us, we had the privilege of going pretty much backstage at the Adamant Tour at the Keswick Theater in Glenside, Pennsylvania in the middle of February, and we got to sit down with the opening band, the Glam Skanks, and we had a fantastic time. And if you're an avid listener of the program, you heard our sit-down interview with them on StoopRadio.com. We sat down with V, Alley Cat, Cassie, and Millie to talk about opening for Adamant, hanging out with Alice Cooper. I mean, pretty much legendary people that loved the Glam Skanks, and we talked to them about it. And then we got to sit down, Jeff, to listen to the Glam Skanks play and open for Adamant. It was a phenomenal concert, and let me tell you, I was blown away by not only how amazing this group is, for me being a big metal guy, and we mentioned this to the members of the Glam Skanks, for me being a metal guy, I was so intrigued by their music that I've been blasting it ever since, man. What about you?
Been listening to it regularly. It's in my music library now on my phone. I thought the girls were really cool. The music is really good. They're fun and energetic, and they really enjoy what they're doing, and they have the talent to do it. This band can get somewhere. It was awesome, man. I think I described watching the lead singer, Alley Cat, on stage, kind of like a female Mick Jagger. She's got those kind of wiggles and the dance moves, and she's strutting and owning it. Pom-poms, and just a blast, man. They had a great time. We had a great time with them.
Absolutely. Intrigued by Alley Cat. Think she's a phenomenal lyricist. Just an awesome singer. But let me tell you, the guitar, I mean, and everybody's great. Millie's phenomenal at bass. Cassie is just awesome at the drums. Really just banged it hard, man. But V playing that guitar, let me tell you, big things are going to come out of this band. But V, I'm telling you, she's going to go down as a great, great guitarist. The way she shred, the way she ripped, I'm sure she's been playing guitar for her whole life. Her name is Vivian Whitkin. Her father is a very famous person on the music scene, and you know, it's in her blood. And let me tell you, it showed. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to the interview, go to StoopRadio.com. It's the very first one up there right now. Click it, and you can listen to Jeff and I hang out at the Keswick Theater in Glenside, Pennsylvania, with the Glam Skanks. And I also got to say this real quick too, Adamant. You and I were watching the show. I said, man, what has he got to be, about 50 now? I was blown away to learn he was 63 years old. He killed it, Jeff.
He really did. On point. The voice is pretty much exactly the same. Looks good. I mean, he ripped out just so many songs and like no break and no lag. And he didn't really spend a lot of time filling dead air by talking to the audience and telling cute little stories. They just kept going song after song after song, and the show as a whole, fantastic. Wish I could do it again. It's a great combination. Glam Skanks were an excellent opening act. Adamant really brought it. Just tremendous, man. It's excellent, and if you don't know or you haven't listened to Adamant in a while, get reacquainted with him. His stuff's phenomenal.
Absolutely. Adamant. And he played the whole Kings of the Wild Frontier album, which sounded amazing live. And then he jumped into some more of his popular stuff, like Goody Two Shoes. It was just a damn good concert. The crowd was good, except for the ladies behind us that assaulted Jeff and I, and the one lady to the left of Jeff. So if you guys are listening and you remember seeing us there, you all suck. But what a show, man. And, we want to send a big thank you out to Glam Skanks publicist, Lee Runchy,
Yes.
a good friend of our program here, for setting that up and having us at the show. We want to thank their tour manager, the Glam Skanks, Mitch. He was a really cool guy. Great to know him, and hopefully we get to see all of them again and do some stuff with them here at the Stoop in the future. But tonight, we're going to be joined by somebody else, a good friend of the program who's been here before. Actor Dominic Pace is going to be joining us at around 8:15, 8:20ish. We're going to talk about his role on NBC Superstore. He's coming back for a second time as Lenny.
Right.
So he's going to be here in just a little bit, and we're going to talk to him, about being on Superstore. He's doing a short with Blizzard Entertainment, which is really cool to find out about. He's a big New York Mets fan, Jeff. I know you hate that, so we're going to talk to him about some Mets baseball. We're going to get some advice, and we're going to talk to him about remakes, man. Movie remakes, because we're pissed off at movie remakes here. And we know Dominic doesn't really care for them either. Unless he's cast as the star, I'm sure he'll love that. I know I would. I wouldn't knock anything if they cast me as the star, but that's how I feel.
Flexible.
All right. So before we get going, it seems that this is like a thing we do here, and every time we go live, somebody passes away. But we haven't been on the air in a couple of weeks, so we have to talk about first the passing of legendary and one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood, Bill Paxton. Took us all by surprise. A very early, I believe it was like a Saturday or Sunday morning it happened, and I looked at it right away. TMZ posted it, and I saw it like the very first minute it came up on Facebook. And Jeff, I had to do a double take, man, because Bill Paxton was one of my all-time favorite actors. Patrick Swayze was up there. Kurt Russell's up there. I would say Bill Paxton is easily in my top 3, maybe even top 5. Just one of the most underrated actors. Nice guy. Everybody loved working with him. And young. I mean, this was a tragedy. He went in for valve replacement surgery on his heart, and he had a stroke during the surgery and passed away. What did you think when I first sent it to you? Because I think I'm the one that sent it to you, right? About him passing away?
I might have been. I might have woke up from one of my many beer-filled evenings a little fuzzy, so caught me a little surprised. Now, shocking. Absolutely shocking. A guy that you really got to love. He was in so many movies and so many different ranges. I mean, we know him as Chet in Weird Science, just an awesome character. And then he was in Twister, and then he played the Weasley guy in True Lies with, just everything he did was great. He really seemed like he was having a good time. Really was able to play so many different characters. And out of nowhere, just here today, gone tomorrow. Shocking, sad. A guy we're definitely going to miss. Tough young guy too. Like you said, I believe 61. I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, 61.
And so many things. And when somebody passes away, people come out with all these stories about them, and we knew what a great guy Bill Paxton was. But to hear some of these stories, I mean, I didn't know he was like best friends with James Cameron. I didn't know he was friends with Mike Muir from Suicidal Tendencies. That was probably one of the best stories I heard. Yeah. And awesome. What sucks is that I heard it because Bill Paxton passed away. I wish it was something that will happen. When these people are around, so we can cherish that story along with them. It's sad that we have to cherish it now that after Bill Paxton is gone. But this is something that really blew my mind. I feel for his family. I feel for his friends. This is definitely one of the biggest losses in Hollywood. And we had so many last year, man. Really sucks. So, once again, thoughts and prayers out to the family and friends of Bill Paxton. And then yesterday, movie historian Robert Osborne passed away at a very good age of 84. Lived an incredible life. He was in ill health for a while. Seriously, you watch Turner Classic Movies over the last who knows how many years, and Robert Osborne presenting these movies and these shorts to you, and just the infinite knowledge he had, but the way he did it. And I wrote on Facebook, I loved his voice, I loved his presence, I just loved his whole appeal to a movie. It made that movie more exciting, Jeff.
Sure.
Another guy gone that is going to be missed. Have you ever watched any Turner Classic Movies and just like, he came on and you were just happy to see him?
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely added a special something to it. there's just so many classic movies out there to be watching. You would see him come on and really knew his stuff, and it's sad. Like I said, 84, good age though.
Yeah.
Really great.
Absolutely.
Really, really sad.
All right. So in just a couple of minutes, we're going to be joined by our guest actor, Dominic Pace of NBC Superstore. Before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about something. Jeff, you grew up, Atari, the original Nintendo, big things in our lives as kids. The Nintendo Switch is here. It's the fastest selling Nintendo console ever. It amazes me because there's more people in this world that are now buying video games. So of course it's going to become, the fastest selling console. They're going to sell more than the Nintendo 64. They're definitely going to sell more than the Super Nintendo. They're definitely going to sell more than the NES. But my question to you is, are you shocked that this is the fastest selling Nintendo console, number one? And number two, as good as it is, do you think it could live up to the potential and to the legendary status of the original NES?
I think it can. It depends on the kind of games and the kind of cult following that the games have. To say I'm shocked to see how fast it sells, no, because everybody wants the next new thing. Mm-hmm. People went berserk for NES Classic. That came out of nowhere, was a little console filled with old vintage games, and people went nuts to get it. Right, exactly. And people went nuts to get it. And people are going to be nuts for this too, and it's exciting. It looks great. Some of the things I'm reading on, some of the things I'm seeing. I think it has a chance with the proper games and the proper marketing to be huge.
Yeah. I don't know. See, and I feel completely different. I play the new consoles today, and yeah, there's some good games. I love the sports games, but I still don't feel like it can even come near the status of these original consoles from back in the day. Because to me, when I sit down and I play, let's say, a Call of Duty, I can beat Call of Duty in probably half a day on one of the hardest settings. I want to take one of these gamers from today that think they're so good because they can play Call of Duty and noob tube the crap out of people and hide in little holes and snipe them, whatever. I want them to sit down and play Rygar, and I want to see them try to beat Rygar with one life and no save function.
Yeah, there was nowhere to hide back in the old video games. You were right there out in the open, like I said. I mean, that was it. You weren't going to hide from the monsters. You weren't going to hide from levels. You weren't going to hide from anything. You were there. You had to go through it. You had to move forward.
Yeah,
a little different gaming, absolutely.
And if your mom, your dad, or your girl, or your wife said, "Hey, we got to go," you ain't sitting there and saving it. You're either leaving that NES on overnight, like I used to do as a kid.
Absolutely.
Or you turned it off and had to start over. But here's the thing, though. I feel that they put so much into graphics now that they don't put much into challenging video games. Back then, I mean, you know, Rygar, all the Super Mario Brothers, Ghosts and Goblins, Karnov. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. And to be honest, I don't think I've played a game on, let's say, Xbox 360 or Xbox One, any of the PlayStations, that I had a hard time with. I think maybe one or two. NES, I can name dozens of titles that I had a hard time with. But let me tell you, it was such a different reaction to when I beat Ghosts and Goblins, where I ran through Contra in the hardest setting. I knocked out Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out one freaking time. Lucky. Never did it again, never will do it again. The reaction and the excitement, man.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these consoles can live up to that, dude. I don't think so. I really don't.
Never beat Mike Tyson. Never.
I got lucky, and I don't even know how I did it, because it happened so quick that I don't remember pressing the button. He came at me, I jabbed him. That was it. And I was like, wait a minute. And a lot of people I talk to, I think I know one other person that has done it. And it's like, man, what a freaking accomplishment that is. Like hitting the lottery. I'd rather hit the lottery, of course, but...
Yeah, it's pretty well. I couldn't even get it. I mean, I barely would get past the first round.
Well, Joe Glass?
No, first round of the match with Mike Tyson.
I wonder how many people actually lost to Joe Glass.
Glass Joe.
Or Glass Joe. I wonder.
You're Joe Glass.
No, is that from the Brady Bunch? It's George Glass.
George Glass.
It's George Glass. Where's your shawl, Marcia?
It's my boyfriend, George. George
right.
Glass.
What we're going to do here right now is we're going to bring in our guest, so we're going to call him right now.
Sweet.
And let's see if this works tonight, because you know how we like to have technical difficulties here. So we're going to be calling Dominic Pace right now. He's going to be joining us live on Skype in just a minute. Hopefully it works. I wouldn't doubt it if it doesn't work. Because it doesn't look like it is working. Dominic, are you with us? Once again, let me try again. That's the fun thing about this stuff, Jeff.
Yes.
It goes good, and then it doesn't.
Right. This was the realm we had at Blog Talk Radio was a disaster. Then we came here, and it was flawless.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then all of a sudden, last couple episodes out, we've stumbled, so we're reaching out to the big-time investors and big-time radio studios. You can have this show. Just bring us the big equipment.
Yeah. All right, we're trying to get Dominic to call us real quick, but while we do that and see what's going on here and what the problem is, unfortunately, but we will have Dominic join us in just a minute as we work through all of these fun technical difficulties here, as usual. Coming out today, Google accused of spreading false news. Featured snippets in their search function is repeatedly sharing false information. This is being reported by TheGuardian.com. We know this is a big epidemic on Facebook, on Twitter. People just, seeing something and sharing it. I think over the weekend we had a Chuck Norris death hoax. How do you stop this in the age of the internet?
It's really hard. And it's impossible. There's antivirus out there, and people can still hack. Your credit card gets hacked. It's impossible to stop people from doing such a thing. I don't really understand what kind of thrill they get out of it. I don't see what kind of financial investment they get out of it. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
But even with the death hoaxes, though, and I really don't understand it, is what do you get out of saying that, hey, Keanu Reeves, died and got hit in the head with a surfboard, or Chuck Norris is gone, or Morgan Freeman's gone? Like, it's not like you're bringing people back to your website.
Right.
Which I don't understand. I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Like, why does that work? Why does it happen that way? I don't know.
It's very confusing.
I don't know. I don't know why we cannot connect to Dominic. The thing is just not ringing. So we're going to keep trying and see what happens. But, going back to it, I just don't understand it.
It's not, you're not really breaking news. You're not breaking a story. If you're selling something that's a hoax, you're not big-time broadcast journalist. You're just pretty much being nitty.
Yeah.
You're being a douche, as I like to say.
I don't know. But anyway, I'm not shocked that Google's being accused of, because pretty much Google bots are grabbing everything from everywhere. You think a corporation that big would be a little bit better, but just doesn't seem to be. I don't understand it. Let's talk a little bit of movies until we get Dominic with us. He will be here shortly, hopefully. If not, we're going to see if we can connect with him via phone. Overboard. And we've talked about remakes here tons of time. Overboard, the amazing 80s cult movie with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, is being remade. We know this because we spoke about it. Finally announced the cast today, dude. Anna Faris and an unknown to American actor, Eugenio Derbez. Kind of bad. The worst part is, though, it's a gender swap. Anna Faris is going to be in Kurt Russell's role, and Eugenio Derbez is going to be in Goldie Hawn's part. And wait, hold on. I think we're joined with Dominic right now. Dom, you with us?
Gentlemen,
There we go.
There you go, buddy. How you
Sorry
doing,
about
man?
that. Yeah, good. Little technology issues there. My apologies.
No, please don't be. It's not your fault. It's the fault of Skype. They suck.
No worries at all. Well, thank you for having me, and happy to be here.
No, man, we love having you with us, man. This is your second time, man. We gotta go for the record. I think the record is 6 times, and NBA champion Chucky Brown owns that, man. Do you think you could beat it?
Absolutely. It'll be like Steve Martin and Al Baldwin with SNL. We'll do six appearances.
There you
I
go.
like it.
Perfect. All right, man, so let's jump into it real quick. Once again, you're going to be on NBC Superstore. This is your second appearance on the program. Tell us how it came about being on it again for a second time, and is this going to turn into a semi-regular role? I believe the character's name is Lenny, correct?
Absolutely. Let's see what happens. They just wrapped in terms of the second season, so hopefully the third season will be up and running. They're probably going to find out by April if it goes through or not. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, great. So now, how did you get the role again? Did they call and say, "Hey, we loved you on the first time, come back and do it," or was this just something that you knew was going to happen?
It was exactly that. It was just we loved you on the first time, and they brought me back. I mean, that's just the way the company and the industry works. I mean, it's just crazy. You just never know when your break's going to be, and when things go in your favor. It's great. I mean, I heard, oh God, the supporting actor there, Jesse from Breaking Bad, that was supposed to just be a guest star for him, and what ended up happening was it turned into obviously a series lead, and there you go. I mean, you see what that did for him. So You just never know. But in the meantime, like I said, we just stay focused and we try to stay as humble as we can,
Absolutely. So now, when they come and shoot out to you and they say, "Hey, listen, we want you to be on NBC Superstore," is it something like, "Hey, you have to come back tomorrow and audition for it again," or was it because you've done it the first time, they knew how good of an actor you were, so they just said, "Hey, we want you to come back and do this"?
No, you don't have to audition again, at least for that show. So we were pretty much dialed in at that point. But, again, just for everything else, you just kind of have to get back to the hustle and still beat out 30 to 40 guys until, you're a name talent. And then, obviously, things get a little bit better from there,
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about the cast and, acting, with America Ferrara.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, America, she obviously is such an activist in so many areas. But the one thing about this show, I think in general, was just the fact that everyone was just so down to earth. Everyone was just so, salt of the earth. I think the thing is now, especially with social media in this day and age, is, you can't have any more of those old Hollywood egos. So when you come on set, I mean, the one thing is, I mean, I don't want to name names, but you can have attitudes and I mean, you're not going to be working too long. Even De Niro said, I mean, everyone is replaceable, including him. And, I mean, obviously that's a pretty rare thing to say, but also at the same time, I mean, he has some validity to that in that. And the good thing about it is, you run into shows like this to where, it's no longer these Hollywood egos, just everyone's just so down to earth and so welcoming. And, it's just a dream come true. For the first time in 20 years, it was my first recurring role. And I can't tell you just how much that meant to me from the struggle that we came from. I mean, starting when I was 18 years old. And I mean, it's kind of like I said, just it's sort of the footsteps of Chaz, Chaz Palminteri, where things just didn't start coming to fruition. Us paisans, it's like we get better with age. And
That's right, baby.
And a way, it's like there's better characters for us as we get older. When you're in your 20s, it's like, boy toy, hot and sexy and all that kind of stuff where, there's a dime a dozen. But as we get older, it turns into more of the seasoned actors, the ones who are veterans and have kind of been in the game for quite some time, to where the talent really shows through. And again, the great thing for us men is we have a long shelf life until 70, and hopefully women will be able to join us there in a few years there as well with that whole situation in terms of just having equality for all in many ways.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you about that, because we hear a lot about the inequality of how the female actresses aren't getting, top roles and they're not getting paid as much. You being an actor, I'm sure you have lots of friends who are actresses. Do you see that firsthand when you're auditioning and you're doing roles with a lot of these female actresses in the business?
Absolutely. It's kind of a difficult thing in terms of, women in film. I mean, the biggest problem right now is just the fact that they have two categories. It's.
Oh, I think we lost Dom. He's still in the call. but we can't hear him. Yeah, I don't know. We lost Dominic. Hopefully we can get his microphone reconnected here, and we can talk to him real soon again. So, Dom, if you can hear us, because you're still connected, we can't hear you. What is going on with this, man?
Can you...
There you go. Hey.
Okay. Oh, man. I'm so sorry there, Jeff. It's just, oh, man, this connection up in the Hollywood Hills, it gets a little bit tricky there.
Yeah, no problem.
So, no, what I was saying was just in regards to the fact that, you know, women have limited categories, and it's just not fair. I mean, again, I would hesitate to the point of where we need a remake for Ghostbusters, you know, Part 8, the female version, but at the same time, there's a lot to be said just in regards to creating more roles for women in film, but legitimate, you know, where it's not exhausted to the point to where it's something to where we kind of go out of our way to appease them or to compliment them, but more in the sense of just having it organic. You know, I mean, we think of Sigourney Weaver, or we think of Episode 7, or even Rogue One, to where it was really, really genuine, and it wasn't this whole soapbox kind of thing, a la, you know, Charlize Theron, where all of a sudden it's got to be this big march. It's just more of a genuine thing where I want to watch you because you're good. I want to watch the story because you're good, and not so much for the fact that we need to make a female movie just to make a female movie. Let's make a good one. You know, let's do Bridesmaids. Let's do Fried Green Tomatoes or Steel Magnolias kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good points, yeah.
Absolutely. So, speaking about this, inequality, gender, got to throw this at you. I was going to ask you this later on. We were just talking about it. The whole remake thing. We talked about it the first time you were on a show with us. We got the cast out today for Overboard. Anna Faris, Eugenio Derbez, who's pretty much an unknown to American audiences, but they're doing the gender swap now, where Anna Faris is going to be in Kurt Russell's part, Eugenio Derbez is going to be playing Goldie Hawn's part. What's your feeling on remakes in general, but what's your feeling of a remake on this movie?
I think it's getting too much. I mean, let's use a woman, for example. You know, let's use Goldie Hawn. I mean, was incredibly talented, and she's a legend. But, you know, let's go back even more. We talk about John Travolta or Patrick Swayze. I mean, you know, I have this shrine of 80s icons, and they're icons for a reason, because they created original content. I think the problem with Hollywood in general is just the fact that, you know, they look at a formula. And if you told me tomorrow that I would make $1 million for remaking E.T., I mean, heck, I'd be lying if I said I didn't balk at it. But at the same time, I mean, it's frustrating for those of us who appreciate Hollywood and we appreciate art, and we just want to see genuine, good films be made. And, you know, I'll tell you, they just showed a lineup. And obviously I'm a little jaded because, of course, I'm a Star Wars fan. But overall, besides Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where, again, just the overall superhero genre, I feel, is just a little oversaturated. With the exception of Dunkirk, I mean, it just seems like just slim pickings. And again, I understand. I mean, people now are, you know, watching Netflix. They're watching, you know, they're not going out as much. Movies are costly, and especially take a family of 4 now, it's about $100. But I mean, is this really the answer? I mean, Anna Faris is absolutely brilliant. I mean, she's an amazing actress. But again, all the political correctness too, I think it needs to stop to a certain extent. You know, if you were to sit down and we watch 16 Candles, you're going to have two types of people. You're going to have somebody who's going to laugh their ass off, and then you're going to have somebody who's offended by every single thing in the movie. And the only angle that I can give, it's tough because I'm a white male, so there's not much that I can genuinely add, because again, people are going to say, well, you're in the driver's seat. But even as an Italian, it's like, you know, they made fun of Bohunk in the movie. You know, there's a bunch of scumbag Italians that they were marrying into. It's funny. You know, it's not. I'm not offended by that. And I think hopefully as a country we can start getting to the point. You guys are from the East Coast, you know, and I say this a million times in a few interviews. It's like we grew up with Italian, Jewish, Irish, Puerto Rican, African American. It wasn't racism, but if you go outside of that area of the Northeast, all of a sudden it becomes this kind of a dramatic, you know, hypersensitive situation where even in litigious society it's become even more difficult, because if you can get a lawsuit from something, you're going to act on it. And it's just frustrating for Hollywood because, again, it's like you can't make anything anymore without people freaking out. Even now, Beauty and the Beast, everyone's freaking out because Olaf's character is going to be gay. And it's just like, I don't know. It's a little too much.
Yeah, it is a little too much. Jeff's got a good role for you, though. Jeff.
I got a good one. We're going to have Dominic Pace in Pretty Woman. Dominic's going to play a male hooker, and he's going to get wooed by a female billionaire. I love it. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. You pitch it, and equality for all, and gender swap. Absolutely. That's a thing. It's like, listen, at the end of the day, I appreciate, and I respect the fact that we need more diversity. We need more gender-related roles, but also at the same time, I can't tell you how many roles I've lost out to for being 6'4", or being too heavy, or not hitting the gym as much. And am I going to sit there and start a march and say, hey, there needs to be more roles for 6'4" men, and there needs to be more boy toy, boy next door roles for big scary Italian men? No, I mean, it's like, listen, at the end of the day, writers have to do their job, producers need to do their job. So what do? It's like, I'm not going to fight the system. I'm going to try to find a way to be unique and creative. I studied briefly with Robert Townsend, and you have an African American in the 1980s, which is probably the most difficult time you can imagine. I mean, obviously, if you go back to the 60s and 50s, of course, but any time, pre-90s for African American was extremely difficult. But you take somebody who created this content, not only for himself, but also for his friends. And it's more, again, it goes back to our roots of accountability and creating our own content and looking outside the box, as opposed to just waiting at the behest of our agent or our casting directors to decide what roles or how we're going to be famous or how we're going to be made. It's like, now you have the power in your hands to literally create content on your own. And if it's good, it's going to stick to the wall. But if it's not, listen, there's only a certain extent to where we start hearing all the crying and complaining that it becomes to ad nauseum, to where it's just not digestible.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny that you say, because I know you're from New York as well. I'm a born New Yorker. And I think you hit the nail on the head where, outside of that group, I mean, I grew up in Queens, right on the borderline of Brooklyn. We grew up with Yugoslavians, Italians, Germans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Ecuadorians, African Americans. The whole thing. You never heard that stuff in those neighborhoods. You really didn't.
You didn't. And I attribute it a lot to how I've had such a strength throughout the years in regards to the ups and downs of the business. And I think, again, when you read these articles about coddling our children and the participation trophies, I think, going to sports there, what was the linebacker over in Pittsburgh, famous longevity guy, journeyman, he basically said, listen, I give the participation trophy for my kids back.
James Harrison.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah.
James Harrison. It's getting to a point now, and I tell my kids now too. My youngest one is really involved in baseball. Listen, I mean, we have to prepare them for life. And
Absolutely.
Life, I ran into a train wreck over Christmas. I went to a family party, and it was one of those hyper-sensitized millennials where I'm like, Jesus, man. I mean, I just kind of casually walked away without getting into it. But it's like, listen, at the end of the day, you got to have tough skin, and not everything is racist, not everything is sexist. It's like, listen, at the same time, writers need to write, and we need to let them do that. And again, there's a fine line. I mean, we need to, I was watching It's a Mad World, just an old 60s classic years ago.
Amazing movie.
And listen, the woman's walking out the door, and everybody's, hanging their head because they're looking at her figure and everything else. And, I'm not talking about objectifying women to that extent to where all of a sudden we got to see, boobs hopping across the film. But also at the same time, there's a certain level now where I think it's just getting so overly sensitized, where I think we need to scale it back a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, how do you think we got there? And I know we're going off topic, with not talking movies and television and stuff. But how do you think we got there? Because I really don't. Jeff and I were just talking about this. I don't understand how the world got so PC so quick.
I think we all, to a certain extent, took bullying different ways. For me, I mean, it was one time, I was in 6th grade. I got picked on a little bit. My mother gave me a boxing class. And at the next time, I mean, the next time somebody messed with you, you beat their ass. Or if you got beaten up, you shook hands and that was it. It wasn't this, we need to change the system because we're offended or we're hurt by things that might have happened during childhood. Listen, life is life. And I think generation over generation, people have, if they can do something about it and if they're in power, I think they're trying to, I think they mean well. But again, it gets to a certain point to where the question is are we being the right parents for our children in regards to not exposing them to sometimes the public school system, where everything isn't going to be sunshine and rainbows. I grew up with 30 kids on a really tough block, and we used to push each other around. And if you were Italian, Portuguese, Irish, African American, God bless you. But at the end of the day, we were all brothers and sisters, and we duked it out, and we loved each other. And it wasn't something to the point now to where, again, it's like, I want to start a foundation because because I got hurt one time, or somebody offended me because I was too tall, or what have you. It's just, I think, again, we're dealing with a time right now where you have two opposite ends of the spectrum, where whether it's over 35 or under 35, and these millennials, I think they mean well, but I think their ideology, to a certain extent, in regards to thinking everyone over 35 is ignorant, because we're like, shake it off, for Christ's sake, I think is a little ignorant in and of itself. So I think, listen, we're still the bosses of this world, and I think there's a happy medium. I think, it's a great topic of discussion. But, I think, again, as Gen Xers, we need to give everybody, my mother, like you said, our parents used to give us a swift kick in the ass. So I think to a certain extent, I think we need to do that with the youngins there, and not so much physically, but verbally, and say, hey, shake it off. This is life.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Now, let's spin it back. Want to get more into your career. You're now working on a short with Blizzard Entertainment, creators of many, many video games, especially ones that I loved back in the day, StarCraft, Diablo, you name it. Tell us a little bit about this project, if you can, and let us know what's going on with it.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is finally the kids are getting excited. I've been fortunate enough to work on television for a handful of times, but I haven't been able to do anything really kid-oriented for quite some time. And it's a group of guys who got the okay from Blizzard Entertainment and from Overwatch to basically take access of all their characters. They got the rights to the music. So they're putting together a really high-budget 5 to 10-minute treatment, and I got cast as this character, Ragus, or Reaper, hence the big scary goatee. And we start shooting in a couple of weeks, and I'm just really excited. The one thing while the kids are young, it's like as the kids get older, they become disinterested in mom and dad. So it's just kind of meaningful for me and important, just if anything, to just give the kids a little something to look up to dad for. Obviously I'm always there for them, and between the baseball locations and everything else. But at the same time, it's nice to be a little bit of a hero on screen for the kids, which I rarely do, because we're always the tough guy and bad guy there.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, is this something, that you've never done before, or is this something that, that you're used to doing, working on a show like this?
I've never worked with motion capture. I've never worked with video game voiceover, so this will pretty much be my first time I do a caricature like this. As a matter of fact, I hired a voice coach because we need to work on the voice, because it's a really low pitch, which we'll mess around with over the next couple of weeks. But just really excited about it. It's a guy named Mike DeMille, and we worked on a short actually a couple months ago. And just my business card is just always being professional and just being a good guy. And there's no better compliment, I think, for any actor to be able to just get that call back for the next project. And I've been so fortunate over the last couple of years that that's been happening on a regular basis.
Nice. Is there a timetable on that?
I would say within a couple of months. I think they're going to try to turn this around really quickly. Ideally, it's something that I think they're going to try to pitch to Hulu, possibly a feature, but more or less, I'm understanding, I think, like a series for Hulu, and it would just be amazing, especially to get that break, to do something, kind of be, was it from that Adam Sandler movie, Scooby Steve, where I can...
Scuba Steve. Yeah.
Scuba Steve.
Kind of make the kids happy with one of these kind of comic book characters there.
That's cool.
Nice.
Exactly.
That'll be
Exactly.
cool, man.
So,
Do you think this could lead into some nice voiceovers for video games?
we'll see. We'll see what happens. We're keeping our options open. Obviously, just independent film is kind of my bread and butter right now. Really excited to go back to New York next month. It's been a long-awaited completion of a feature called Anonymous Killers, which is a great, you talk about society and we talk about politics and religion and all the political correctness. It's one of those scripts that I think is just going to blow people's minds, just in regards to everyone leaving the theater with a different thought on it. So I finish that up next month. But I'm really excited about the indie route. The reason is, especially for guys like me, I get a little bit more leeway in terms of the characters that I get to play. In the big leagues, again, it turns down to cop number one and bouncer and tough guy and blue collar, and in kind of the minors or these indies, they see me a little bit more openly for things where, I could be kind of the dad, or I could be a psychologist or lawyer or doctor, or, or our bread and butter, of course, a mafioso or what have you. So I'm really just excited to continue on that path and see where it goes, because my wife went to school with Hilary Swank, and she did Boys Don't Cry. And you talk about like an art film, and
Yeah.
I think if you're truly an actor or an artist, you want to go for those meaty roles. And again, just kind of sometimes at the lower budget level, you're able to tap into that a little bit more. So just excited to keep tapping into that, as I have been for the last couple of years.
Cool. Now, I don't think we touched on this the last time you were with us. Tell us how you got into this business. What or who inspired you to take this journey, since, and we know it's not an easy one, so who got you into this, and how did you get the passion to become an actor?
I think we know now, especially with all the political correctness, that, in the corporate world, you can't smile, you can't be overjoyed, you can't be angry, you can't get emotional, and we have all of those facets as human beings. And ever since a young age, we go back to High School Musicals, I felt that adrenaline on the mound, but more so on stage. And it's addicting, because I think at our very core, we're animals. And I can't tell you, people talk about the level of rejection and the ins and outs of it, but it's an absolute beautiful addiction. That's the only way that I can compare it, because the fact that you get to emote, and again, in this world, it's becoming few and far between. Especially with most jobs where everything is so politically correct, you can't even speak your mind anymore.
Yeah.
So it becomes this imaginary world, and it's not an issue of going into hiding, but it's just imagine this imaginary world where you have the absolute freedom to do whatever you want, and it's just an amazing feeling. And I caught the bug very, very early. I used to stay close to NYU and Columbia University, and it just kind of grew from there. And I studied with the William Esper Studio for a couple of years, members of the Actors Studio. And the one beautiful thing about it, the thing is with this town, is you're not deemed successful unless you're part of the top 1%, or unless, you get that Oscar. But the one beautiful thing for some artists, or I hesitate to say most, because a lot of people are in it for the fame or for, other aspects of it, but is really the fact that you just genuinely enjoy the craft. And I can't tell you the last 20 years how happy I've been. It's a different kind of wealth, at the same time, who wouldn't want to have, a big $1 million house? But at the same time, it's just been absolutely so gratifying, day in and day out, to go through these auditions and to go just in general, to play out the craft with all different people. It's just it's amazing. And again, I feel the most alive when I'm either on screen or on stage.
Awesome. So you get into acting. You got into it pretty young. Did you ever get starstruck when you were first starting out? Like, if you did something with somebody that you never thought you'd meet, like, how did that, like, what was your first moment where you knew, like, oh, this is the real deal?
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. I was doing extra work out in Westbury, Long Island. It's this beautiful mansion called Westbury Gardens, and it was an old mansion from, like, the old guild, I forget what age you would call it, the golden era of, the early 1900s or late 1800s. And it was a movie called Tu Wong Fu, which was Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo. They were dressed in drag, and I was just a guy in a tuxedo at this high fashion event. But I was next to Patrick Swayze, and there was about 6 other people. And I'll never forget, it was the summer of 1994, and he was going on and on about how much he loved his wife. And not only, was he standing there next to one of my childhood heroes, Red Dawn and Dirty Dancing and The Outsiders, but also at the same time, just the love that he had and the passion for his wife was just mind-blowing. And, he smiled at everybody, shook everybody's hand, and now it even means so much more, because obviously the poor guy, he passed away. Yeah. But even watching Wesley Snipes, he had 2 security guards bring him on set, and he just looked like such a stud. That was kind of, earlier experiences. And now, to be honest, I get starstruck with the old people from the 80s, whether it's John Cusack, or had the privilege of meeting Crispin Glover the other day, just because it stirs up so many magical moments for me as a child, Definitely. As opposed to the stars of today, which I feel like are a little too diluted. Maybe it's a little oversaturated Hollywood, but just ultimately, it's really those stars from the 80s that really have always turned me on and always have been awe-inspiring in so many ways.
Absolutely. And I can tell that because if nobody knows, Dominic is doing a Facebook Live right now, so we're able to see him and see what he's going on, and he's got a nice array of some autographed pictures behind him.
Yes, sure does.
Some great 80s stuff. And at the bottom, I see our friend Dee Wallace, who's going to be joining us in a couple of weeks from ET. Man, that's really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. She's a sweetheart. She's an acting teacher, actually, right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a cool little thing. I always get them out to my two boys there. So I tell them, I said, just don't ever sell this stuff. I know, they can or cannot relate to some of the childhood films of the 80s, but ultimately, I just don't ever want them to, whoa, everything goes. This one is
collection.
Yeah, this is William Zabka and Ralph Macchio there, and that's one that I always loved. And I had Zabka write one to Bennett because he's kind of the bad boy.
Yeah.
And Ralph Macchio is my older one. He's kind of an angel there. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but again, great films, and they become more and more iconic because again, what just like we were talking about, what Hollywood puts out is just getting, like I said, just kind of diluted and oversaturated there in so many ways. So.
I agree. Now, let me ask you this. You're a big 80s guy like we are here. We go nuts for 80s stuff. I had the privilege of meeting and having a good conversation with C. Thomas Howell and Ralph Macchio a couple of years back. That was a big deal to me. Not that I got, super starstruck, but I was, one of the first times where I didn't really know what to say. And usually I always know what to say. So when it comes to remakes and they touch 80s movies, the ones we love, if they already did Karate Kid, they're doing Overboard. Right. What are you going to do if they do something like Back to the Future, man?
It's frustrating. And the thing is the feminist movement has so much weight to it and so much legitimacy. And it was so, for me, like I said, Ghostbusters in itself, a remake, we could argue it with women or not with women, but I just thought it was just such a sensitive film because it's not about the women. It's about the fact that we just hate remakes right now. Yeah. All Gen Xers, it's just like we said, Overboard. And even if you look at the lineup this year, it's like, oversaturated superhero movie after movie. And it's getting old. But that, I think, added an extra element to it where, again, feminism has it's a very sensitive topic and it's a very debatable issue in so many ways. But the fact that we're messing with the remakes, I think in general, I think everybody is just genuinely upset about it,
Now, do you think it's bad that they do remakes just because, these are films that we love and, it's oversaturated? Or is it the fact that you can't touch a movie that was done so perfectly?
Well, that, and then also as an artist, it's like, listen, create something different. It's like when you're in class, it's like all of a sudden with the William Esper Studio, we would have to come in with a scene. And your teacher would look at you like you're crazy if you came in with something that maybe the person had from yesterday. So it's the same thing in terms of the creativity of art. And even when I get a script myself, it's like you want to do something that's unique and something creative. I had the privilege of being in Georgia with this is amazing director-producer couple, Alvin Williams and Tammy Williams, who did this project called Ernie and Serby. And it's about the love of a foster parent with a child. And again, anytime something is unique, I understand that, you're taking that risk because, again, nobody wants to take that risk of losing money. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to support those films as much as you do something that has a unique spin to it. Even comedies now. I just saw my two favorites right now are Vice Principals and Schitt's Creek. And two of the concepts have never been made before. And you want to support it all that much more,
Absolutely. So there's so many great, I don't want to say B movies. So let's say on the independent scene, so many great indie movies, so many great actresses and actors in the indie scene that really don't get a lot of top billing. Why aren't these movies getting more play if in Hollywood all we're seeing is an overcondensation of just remakes?
It's a formula. And it's obviously working. I was I had some friends, and I don't necessarily want to mention the film because I had some good friends in it, but it was god-awful. And I remember when IMDb message boards had message boards, I was just curious to see what the response was. And somebody responded to me, and they said, listen, let's break down the math. You look at the domestic take, and you look at the global take, and it's just like it just comes down to numbers. I've heard time and time again over the last 20 years that it's show business. And I mean, there's a lot of legitimacy to that, but it's just unfortunate as the viewer because, again, we want to be inspired. You want to see something different. Even with the Oscars sometimes, I mean, now I feel like it's delving more and more into politics as opposed to creativity and art and uniqueness. But again, hopefully, I mean, there's still artists out there, and they are getting that financing. It's just, unfortunately, you got to do your homework, and I feel like it's just few and far between these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, all right, let me ask you this. I was going to ask you to give some, words of inspiration to some aspiring actors, but I want to go more on a personal level. Your sons want to become actors. They come to you and, they say, can you give us some advice? Should we do this? Should we not do this? How should we do it? What helped you that can help me? What would you say to them?
There's a catch-22, and I'm not knocking my parents, but there's a catch-22 to proper parenting. And when you're a proper parent, there's a genuine feeling of unconditional love. And the irony to that is sometimes when you love your children so much and you're there for them for every moment, I don't want to say the children tend to be spoiled, but there may not be that much of a need or a fire within to have to express themselves. So as far as with my two children, at least until now, not one of them have really come to me and said, hey, Dad, I want to go out there. I want to fight this. But on the other end of the spectrum, they are the most peaceful and loving and gentle children that you could ever imagine, and they're so amazing in school. They're amazing at sports and in academics, and also just their friends. So I would say to other children, in terms of just the way, it has to come natural. I was having a conversation with a friend today, and even being up in Alaska as a fisherman there for barely 2 weeks, it has to be a genuine fire within. And if you don't have that fire, I would just suggest to stop it right away because just like a realtor, I have friends in real estate. If you don't have that hunger or just constantly, you're up at night thinking just another way where you can devise a plan to maybe network in this way or that way, where it just is genuinely coming from within, there's no advice to give because I think you're dead at the door right there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. It's always nice when we find out, Jeff, what people would say, to other people that want to get into their field. So that's really cool. It's good to know. Now, we got to talk about this, man. It's spring training, dude. You and me, we're pumped for our New York Mets. How do you feel about the team this year, man? Because so much of the roster is pretty much the same as last season.
Sure.
How do you feel about it, and where would you rank the Mets starting rotation amongst the rest of the league?
Well, obviously the world comes down. It's down to pitching, right? And obviously, I think they're second to none. You've got those 5 starters, but the problem is are they going to stay healthy? But also at the same time, offensively, I feel like we're already losing Wright. I feel like it's only a matter of time where he's going to announce retirement. And, I think you can only rely on Cespedes so much. And Jay Bruce, I think, is a little bit past the prime. So I think offensively, honestly, I think they have to make some moves, and especially the fact that Washington brought on Wieters from Baltimore. I think that's certainly going to be a challenge. Miami, Atlanta, I don't think there's much to talk about down there. Philly, unfortunately, I don't think much is going down with you guys there. But I think with Washington and New York, there'll certainly be a race, and hopefully, God willing, my prediction would be that the Mets go to the wild card this year.
To the wild card, huh?
I think so.
Nice. I think they get a little further than a wild card. I think they really lock up a spot pretty good this year.
Yeah?
Yeah, especially in the NL East. I don't know, man. I don't see, even with the Nationals, I don't see them as big competition.
And then what about Cubbies?
You know what, man? It's the Cubs. Yeah, they had one good year and they won it. I don't think they do as good this year as last year.
Well, West Coast is still looking a little weak. I know San Francisco got some acquisitions. Dodgers seem to have just kind of stayed neutral. Even though they stayed with Turner and they kept on Puig and they signed Jansen. But at the same time, I don't think they took a step forward, but I don't think they took a step back either. So I don't know. It's getting a little repetitive, but I think it might be another Dodger-Met wild card or at least maybe a playoff series. But again, I don't know. It's just, it's our Mets. It's like, we haven't hit the big league, the big time or got the whole thing since '86. So I'm always a little bit on edge and skeptical until it ends up happening.
Absolutely. So what do you think about the news that the Mets are one of the teams interested in Brett Lawrie, the second and third baseman? Is that like a little notion that, hey, we're getting prepped to wave goodbye to David Wright?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because he was obviously such a class act. But certainly that would be an amazing acquisition there, without question. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. I told you we do the baseball stadiums there. So
Yes.
This Ernie and Serby film, they might have a screening down in Atlanta come April next month. So we might have that be our 26th stadium there. So we're excited to go down and check it out there.
Very nice, very nice. 26 stadiums. Look at that.
That's something.
All right, man. So before we let you go, let me ask you, what's next for you, man?
Well, we got this PlayStation 4. We've got Anonymous Killers. March 23rd, Superstore airs, and then there's just a Russian. It's a Russian short. I learned a little bit of Russian, and with the beard and the goatee, a lot of times we end up playing that. So I'm on hold for that project now. Just read for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just read for Scandal. So we're just constantly hustling, and then there's a potential horror film that's going to be shot upstate that we might be looking into there as well. Just signed with a great agent, MJB talent agency, Myron Arsalan. So really excited to be on board with him. And that's it. It's just a hustle day in and day out. And we just stay positive and stay focused and just, again, be gracious for every single victory because, some people are a lot less fortunate. And, again, it's one of those businesses to where you just have to appreciate every single day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dominic, as always, thank you for joining us. You're a class act. You're a good friend of ours here, and it's always fun to have you on. And now that your second time is on, we got to shoot for your third time, your fourth time, your fifth time, and your sixth time, man. We got to catch up to Chucky.
You got it. Let's get a big one, and then I'll be happy to come back on and talk about it. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Dom. You have a good night.
Thank you, too. Thank you so much.
All right, well, that was actor Dominic Pace with us tonight, man. Having some good times with Dom. Jeff, good friend of ours, man. He's got his fingers dipped into everything.
He does, man. He's and as I said earlier today, advertising the show tonight, he's always in something, and he's working hard. Give him a lot of credit. The guy's a hard worker. He loves what he does, and he likes sports. He's like a regular guy, man, and we love having him on. He likes to talk. He goes in all different directions and talks about a lot of topics, and it's great, man. You wish a guy like that really well, and you hope he has further success.
Absolutely. He will. He's gaining momentum, man, gaining steam, and we're going to hear a lot about him real soon. On the main spectrum, we already hear a lot about him because we follow his career. So good times. All right, man, before we end the show, Ted, let's get into a little bit of sports talk, man, something you and I absolutely love here and a lot of our listeners love. Jump right into NFL talk. We got the free agency going on. The draft is coming up. Let's talk about some of these recent moves in the NFL. We have a ton of players being waived. We have a couple being suspended. Got some PED use, it looks like. One of my Jets is one of them. What has been so far the most surprising move that has been done over the last couple of days in terms of player being waived?
It's interesting. I don't really know if one player's move or wave jumps off the page. I know you look at New Orleans trying to part their ways with Jarius Byrd, which is a brutal free agent signing. Right now, the story that intrigues me the most, and granted, nothing's official, but Kirk Cousins being moved out of Washington. Now, here's a guy who kind of stole the job. Not really stole the job from RG3, but RG3 was their man, and that exploded. Cousins came in, classy, did his job, got this team to the playoffs, proved that he could be a good time quarterback. They keep feeding him with the one-year deal. Now, all of a sudden, there's rumors that he's going to move on to San Francisco. This, to me, is a major shock because as you've seen, the teams that don't quite have great quarterback play, they just can't make it to the next level. And I'm talking about the Houston Texans and Denver Broncos we talked about ever since Peyton's gone. We talked about that earlier. Quarterbacking is a big asset, and I don't really understand where the Redskins go at quarterback if Cousins walks.
I don't know. I think you could talk about a lot of teams, though, because I think, with Cousins up there, do the Redskins try to go, let's say, Romo?
The thing I have about a guy like Romo, when you start getting the age, and I don't want to compare him to Manning or Brady. I know Manning, Brady played in cold weather stadiums, but you're talking two totally different guys than a guy like Romo. Romo's become fragile. His age is up there. I think a warmer climate, maybe even indoors, like Houston, suits him a little better. Dallas, right? Houston's, is something for him. I can't see him going into the East Coast. I really can't see Dallas making a move and putting him in Washington. Interdivision, it can always come back to haunt you. I know, being an Eagles fan, I bash Romo constantly. I've called him all the clever little nicknames, but the guy is still a competitor. I mean, you could say anything you want about him. He's a competitor. He's a good quarterback. I wouldn't put him in my division. Absolutely not.
No. Listen, when Romo's healthy, and whatever, Eagle fan aside, talking from a pure football fan, Romo's a great quarterback. He is. He's a great quarterback. You can't deny that. I'm a Jets
Absolutely
fan.
Not.
Tom Brady's a great quarterback. Despise the freaking guy. He is a great quarterback. If Tom Brady were traded to the Jets 5 seasons ago, I would have been a Tom Brady fan. And that's just the way it goes in sports.
Yeah, we've had that talk plenty of times.
Yeah.
About a guy putting on your hometown uniform.
Yeah, exactly. So, excuse me. It's tough, man. It's tough, especially when you got things where, the Jets are quarterback needy. Supposedly they're looking at what's the quarterback from Buffalo?
Oh,
Tyrod, whatever his name is.
Taylor.
Supposedly, and coming out today, if the Buffalo Bills release him, they're going after him. I don't know what's up with the Jets thinking. Mike Glennon wants to go to Chicago. Why? They got nobody. Don't understand it.
Kind of like the guys want to pick up the paycheck, I guess, and Mike Glennon wants to play. And I have defended him by saying this guy has one of, if not the most powerful arm in the NFL. The guy can really sling it.
Yes.
Big, tall guy, little lanky, not really a mobile guy, but a guy that can really throw the football. Now, he goes to Chicago. Alshon Jeffrey's getting out of Chicago.
Yeah.
He's got no weapons. Everybody talks about Jimmy Garoppolo, and I joke around because I watched a little bit of his inside scoop on Facebook, and he really doesn't want to get out of New England. Yeah. He's got no desire to get out of New England. Yeah, does he want to play? Sure. Is Tom Brady going to be in New England another 3-4 years? Probably not. So that's Jimmy's job, and I don't see him wanting to make a move. But a guy like Glennon, this is his shot to go out and get money, and I don't really think he cares where he plays. If a rumor gets out that Chicago may want him, he's going to say, sure, I'll play in Chicago.
Yeah.
Hell, I'll play in Chicago. If you want to give me $10 million a year, I'll go play in Chicago.
I don't know about that. Especially with them supposedly getting rid of Alshon Jeffrey, who's really there to throw to? Cameron Meredith and Kevin White? I mean, they've proved that they're really nothing special. So it's like, okay, yeah, you're going to start. Like, let's say, look at Kirk Cousins, supposedly coming out now. He wants the 49ers bad. Who are you throwing to? Yeah. Jeremy Curley, who I love, but he's not a number one wide receiver.
Exactly. I mean, not that he's setting the world on fire, but they released Torrey Smith.
Yeah.
Just another supposed weapon that's out of your arsenal.
Yeah. The Redskins are a better team than the 49ers, by far.
Yes.
So why would you leave a good scenario with some good players around you to go to another team that has nobody?
Agree, but you look at Washington, and it's come back to the same thing. Every team who is hungry for a quarterback is also losing its top weapons. Now, Washington could very well lose Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon in free agency.
Yeah, that is true.
And where he at? I like Jamison Crowder. The kid shows he's a good ball player. He's not a number one wide receiver. And here you are. You're lacking a team that's going to bring in a new quarterback with no weapons to offer.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, looking at the free agent list, there are some people out there. Can the Redskins compete and get an Alshon Jeffrey? Yeah, you know what? They can. They got the money, Can they turn around and say, hey, we'll sign Vincent Jackson? Vincent Jackson is still a decent wide receiver. There are some names out there. Brandon Marshall.
Yes.
I mean, entice him. Victor Cruz. Bring in a Torrey Smith. He's not the best wide receiver, but he's going to be a competitive wide receiver for you. We got Kenny Britt. We got Andrew Hawkins from Cleveland. He's a decent wide receiver. So there are names. Deshaun Jackson and the rest of them. Pierre Garcon. To me, at this point in their careers, they're easily replaceable.
Yes,
but that's just me.
I said Terrell Pryor is another name.
He's going
super
to Philly.
athlete. I would hope so. Super athlete. I would love to have that guy here. There's a lot of wide receivers, and that is where a lot of teams, including our hometown boys, are starving. So wide receivers are going to break the bank. Even in the draft, you're going to see wide receivers going higher than normal. But teams need quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do. All right, before we're going to get into a little NBA talk in a bit, but let me just announce this real quick. Dirk Nowitzki is up to 16 points. He's 4 points away from 30,000 points on his career, man, and I couldn't be happier for Dirk Nowitzki. Great guy, classy guy, awesome player, and he's probably going to play another year, it looks like, which is pretty cool. Back to NFL. Let's talk draft now. Myles Garrett telling the Cleveland Browns, don't draft me. I want to go to Dallas. How do you feel about this? Because we had Eli Manning do this. We had a couple of players in the past do this. I hate it. I think you go where you're drafted. Even if it's a team you don't want to go to, guess what? It's their right to draft you. How do you feel about that?
First and foremost, I think there should be a bit of a stymie on the mouths of college athletes. There should be no reason on earth that they're coming out and telling potential teams to draft them, hey, don't draft me. You're a kid. They're the boss. You are like a new member of their company. That's their company. If they bring you into their company, they give you a job, you work at your job, you do the best you can. If you want to leave that company after a couple of years, you have that right. It'll happen. But if you're drafted by the Cleveland Browns, you know what? Sign the contract, slap on the pads, play with the Browns. Don't be soliciting owners like rumor had it. He came out to Jerry Jones. Hey, Jerry, trade Tony Romo to Cleveland and work some picks and bring me to Dallas. Hey, you know what? Hey, NBC Radio or CBS Radio, bring me and John in to do the Stoop. It's not that easy. You've got to earn it. Garrett looks tremendous. A lot of people saying he should be the number one pick. He's going to be an amazing athlete. Hey, so is Ryan Leaf. We haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean? Get on the field. Let's see what you got. And like I said, if you don't like Cleveland and they're not winning 3 years down the line when you're a free agent, talk to Jerry Jones. Sign a contract at Dallas. That's fine. But earn your keep. Show us what you're worth before you tell teams what to do with their draft pick.
Amazing. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But you know what? Maybe we don't know what we're talking about, and these guys like to know what they're talking about. So yeah. It is what it is. We're going to be talking about the draft a lot, and we're hoping that we're going to be in Philly for the draft, Jeff and I, and hopefully we'll be covering that, and we'll keep everybody up to date on that real soon. Let's switch it over to NBA real quick. Andrew Bogut signs with the Cleveland Cavaliers after being bought out by your Philadelphia 76ers after a trade at the deadline. Plays last night, less than a minute into his Cleveland Cavalier debut, goes down with a fractured tibia, out for the rest of the season, most likely out for the playoffs. That sucks. We're just saying that to you.
Sure.
But now let's talk about the buyout system for the NBA. Deron Williams, Andrew Bogut get bought out. Able to go to a already stacked team in the Cleveland Cavaliers in order to get into the playoffs. Should the NBA buyout system be fixed? And should there be some kind of a system where if the player's bought out, the worst teams get first choice and they can only pass on a certain amount of teams?
Absolutely. That's the way it works in most sports, where it should be a waiver system. Is a bad team going to benefit from a Deron Williams? No. But if you have to go up the ladder, and let's say a 6-seed playoff team brings him in.
Yeah.
to me, a little more fair. Why take the defending champions and the best team in the league and say, this guy's getting released? We'll take him. That guy's getting released. We'll take him. We'll take him. I mean, let's release everybody. Let's just release guys all over the place. Let's have kickbacks to owners for giving up their player to help them win a championship somewhere else. It's ridiculous. The system is so broken, and it gets worse every year. Guys are traded with these mega contracts. They're called the contract deals. They go somewhere else. The team releases them now. Hey, I'm free. Pick me up. And then the Cavaliers and LeBron make their picks, and Golden State. It's like going through a rummage sale. All right, here's stuff to pick from. What do you guys want? It's crazy. Makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like if I'm on a team, and of course I'm not a player.
You could be.
Excuse me. Well, I used to be, but if I'm on a team and they're losing, I just wouldn't. If I get bought out or something happens, I don't know, man. It's like leaving something so bad that you gave your word to, and you say, "Yeah, I'm gonna be here," and I'm gonna help you. They're like, "Nah, I'm gonna change my mind. I want you to buy me out because I want to go to the first place team midway through the season because I know they're already gonna lock up the number 1 seed and go into the playoffs." Because I know they're going to win, and I want to win. To me, that's not you working for it. That's how I feel. I just think it's crap.
Yeah, it's a terribly flawed system. They say because in most sports there is a waiver wire list. It would be nice to just have a guy get cut or get dropped and say, "I'm the best. Come with us," and they just walk right in. It makes no sense. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. There needs to be a system, and I feel like if you go to one of these teams midway through the season after the deadline, I don't think you should be playoff eligible. That's how I feel.
Like they do in baseball.
But at the same time, you're going to make these teams win so many more games. They're going to be so far out in first that they're just going to lock up home advantage and stuff. I don't know. It needs to be fixed, but I don't know how they can do it.
Exactly. You look at a sport, and any of my Philadelphia faithful fans and Flyers fans, especially, they're out there listening. Every year at the trade deadline, the Flyers are giving up youth to get Adam Oates and Dale Horchuk and Paul Coffey. You're giving up young talent to get the names near the deadline. That's the way you do it. These guys weren't being released, and you're just sitting back waiting for them to come to your team.
Yeah.
You had to give up a piece of your future to rent a seasoned veteran that can help you for the playoff push. And that's where basketball has to go back to. This contract buyout and these trades for contracts and all that nonsense needs to be fixed.
It's amazing when you talk about that because I don't think it one of the only leagues I think that still works in is the NHL.
Yeah.
If you look at the Rangers trade, Bernie Nichols, when they traded him over to Edmonton to get Mark Messier, he was a big player for the Rangers. He wasn't just some pissant player or, hey, back then we're going to trade you a draft pick. They rarely ever did that. Except for if you look at the future considerations and how it turned into Jeff Boom, it was a pretty big deal. But it's crazy. I mean, in 2003 they traded him, to I think it was San Jose, right? Yeah, I believe it was San Jose, and it was the pick that turned into Ryan Callahan. We know how that worked out for the Rangers, but usually when you go out and acquire a player in the NHL, you're giving up a substantial thing. Now it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to match salaries because we know, Carmelo Anthony wants to leave Denver, so the Knicks are just going to throw out these players who really aren't franchise players, and there's really nothing to it. Yeah, here's a Wilson Chandler, here's a Danilo Gallinari. We know we're not going to do much, and look how that panned out. Melo sucks in New York, and Denver sucks since then too. So things got to be changed somehow. There's got to be a different system implemented. I feel like every 10 years or so, the trade system, the buyout system, the waiver system needs to change to reflect the times. I mean, that's how I feel. Especially when you look at the leagues, and there's only like a good 4 to 6 teams that are just so dominant. And, if something happens, those players are going to go to one of those 6 teams,
Sure.
But you look how good the Boston Celtics are, and they didn't get nobody, because everybody wanted to go to either Cleveland or Golden State.
Exactly. So you definitely start to root against them, and it's almost like that's what they want. They want your 2 giant empire teams that everybody hates, and then the other 7 seeds that are out to knock them off. I guess it sells ratings. It's always been that way in the NBA. I remember despising the Lakers and rooting for Sacramento. And what the hell I got to do with Sacramento? Nothing. You wanted the Lakers to get knocked out.
Absolutely.
The Celtics teams in the 80s, you started pulling for the Sixers and every other team. And then when Jordan came, and Jordan as a rookie started taking on them Celtics teams, here comes the new hero. So the NBA's got it set up better than we think. It doesn't make the product perfect. Kind of makes it a mess, but they're clever with it. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but listen, let's look at the way teams are listed now. Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. It's always star-stacked teams. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Kevin Love, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and then they bring in Deron Williams, Andrew Bogut. They got J.R. Smith on the bench. They got Iman Shumpert on the bench. They got all these big players. It's amazing how back in the day it wasn't like that, man. I would take the 1999 Sacramento Kings team, and I would pit them against any team in the NBA right now, and I guarantee you that 99 Kings team would win. And who did they have? Chris Webber. Pretty much was the only star of that team. You had great players in role players in Vlade Divac. You had Peja Stojakovic. You had Jason Williams, you had, and then you switch it over, and then they had Mike Bibby, Doug Christie. Just role players, man. These guys weren't stud players, man. Doug Christie sat on the end of the Knicks bench during their championship run. Never saw minutes. A couple years later, he goes to the Kings. Yeah, guess what? We got us a great role player. Let's start him at shooting guard,
Yeah.
Wasn't star players, man. John Starks and Charles Oakley weren't star players. They were phenomenal role players. They knew the roles they had to play, and they played it, and all these teams stayed together, and they stayed together for years, man, trying to win a chip. Not anymore, man. Oh, we're not winning a chip in 2 years here? Oh, I'm going to go over there where there's 3 great players already.
Right.
3-star players.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, man. And, it's one of the things about the NBA I don't like anymore. So, but what can you do, right?
It's they're chasing the money. The only guy I remember back in the day, and I don't really remember the situation, was Danny Manning. I remember he made a move for $1 million to go play with a competitive club. You wouldn't see that today. You wouldn't see. No. I can't really use LeBron as the example. But you wouldn't see any decent ball player say, "Oh, you know what? Cut my salary down big. I want to play with these great players." No, you got to restructure the entire team, pay 3 guys a ton, and pay these poor role players who are playing their asses off peanuts so they can be with the winner. That's
yeah. And I believe that was Manning went over to that really stacked Phoenix Suns team at that time.
Yes, he did. Right.
And then he signed a deal and stayed there for a couple of years. I remember that.
Yeah.
But even that, listen, hey, I'll take that 94, 95, 95, 96 Phoenix Suns teams over any of these teams in the NBA today.
Kevin Johnson, phenomenal.
Dan Marley.
Thunder Dan, love that team.
AC Green, Danny Ainge off the bench, my man, rest in peace, Wayman Tisdale.
Yes.
Wesley Person, awesome shooter off the bench. It's just, role players, man. They knew what kind of minutes they were going to get. They knew what kind of players they were. And these players never went out and said, "Oh, yeah, I can go start here." Nah, man, you know what? Because they already had their lineups toasted, so they were good.
That's great guys. You talk about guys like that, like Dan Marley. There is no guy like that in today's NBA. Knowing your role, knowing you have the talent, but you're not a superstar. Knowing the role.
I long for the days of you knew a guy and they were associated with their position. There ain't no centers in the NBA anymore. There's no real pure shooting guards in the NBA anymore. Everybody's, chucking from outside the 3. It's, man, Dan Marley, John Starks, these guys can not only shoot from outside, they can get in the middle and go up against the biggest guys in the paint.
Yes.
which was so cool, man. Watching these guys do it, man. Watching little Muggsy Bogues drive on Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal. You know, it was great. Yeah, he got tossed around, but let me tell you, man, these players wouldn't be able to fit in that NBA back then.
Yeah, that's how you talk about the, real quickly, because this came out today. Again, you talk about being identified with your position. The Sixers are looking to start Ben Simmons next year at point guard.
Yeah.
They're talking about him at that point. Here's a 6'8", 6'9" guy, forward in college. Yeah, he's sleek with the ball. He's got great moves, but point guard? Where's it get?
A 6'10" point guard, dude. Think about it. Well, listen, man. If you look at it, we got 7 foot tall, freaking small forwards and shooting guards now.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy how the game evolved in that way, which is cool because you go back to mid '90s, early '90s, '80s NBA. You ain't seeing no 7 foot tall point guards. Not happening.
No, the power forwards were the guys in the 6'7", 6'8" range. The centers and power forwards were 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot. Your point guards were 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". It was all pretty much uniform.
Yeah.
Like the certain guys by the size play the position.
Yeah. But let me tell you, man. You take Ben Simmons, you let him drive on Dikembe in his prime, Mourning, Ewing, Shaq, Admiral, Hakeem, Vlade, Eldon Campbell. I'll go on, dude. I'll go on.
Eldon Campbell.
Ain't
You're really
nowhere.
going on there.
Ain't going nowhere.
I'm giving John the Dikembe finger. No.
Get the ball out of here. No. All right, man. Well,
love Dikembe.
That's the end of our show. Once again, want to thank Dominic Pace for joining us earlier tonight. We got a bunch of shows coming up, dude.
Yeah, sure do.
A bunch of shows coming up, man. So in just 2 days from now, Thursday night, we're going to be joined by actor Christian Lees from CMT's Sun Records, man. And the cool thing is that he gets to portray the killer himself, Jerry Lee Lewis, on Sun Records. His brother's in it, playing Jimmy Swaggart. There's guys in it playing Elvis, Johnny Cash, you name it, man. Carl Pickens. It's going to be so cool to have Christian here and talk about all of that stuff. Really nice guy. That's March 9th, this Thursday at 8 p.m. Tuesday, March 21st, we're going to be joined by former NBA player Maurice Evans, and we're going to talk to him about NBA stuff like we were talking about tonight, Jeff. Big stuff there, man.
I like it.
March 23rd, Thursday, we're going to be joined by actor and pro dunker Chris Staples, who's going to be in a movie. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to be talking about how does a pro dunker, man, turn into an actor. Interesting stuff. March 28th, 8 p.m.
What is a pro dunker? What is a pro dunker?
A pro dunker is a guy who dunks and does crazy dunks for a living and gets paid for doing it. Contest, you name it.
I could do that. I'll go to Dunkin' Donuts and get some donuts, and I could be a pro dunker.
You would be great at that.
I'd be phenomenal at that.
Especially if it was mozzarella sticks and beer. You got it, man.
Then my fiance's in the background laughing hysterically at the fact that I can dunk the hell out of donuts. A couple coffee, some donuts. I'm your man.
Give me some munchkins, man. We'll line it up.
Yes, munchkins. Even better, I can dunk 3 of them bad boys at a time. Pull them right now.
All right, March 28th, man, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be joined by R&B star Ron Anthony. And on April 4th, we're going to be joined by the legendary actress Dee Wallace. And you'll know her from so many things, but most of all, the mother in E.T., which we just spoke about earlier tonight with our good friend, actor Dominic Pace. Man, we got some good shows coming up, man.
Really excited for Dee Wallace and Christian Lees and everybody. We get some great guests on here, and like I heard Dominic tonight, they like to get on. And the reason why we do it laid back here, John, we just kind of welcome people into our home, if you will, kick back and let them say what's on their mind. And that's what Dominic was doing. And I'm dying to get all the inside scoop and career stories from Dee Wallace. That's going to be a great show. And a young guy like Christian Lees starting up and getting his name out there when you hear what he's got to say. So exciting. Stay tuned. We're bringing you great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good stuff here at the Stoop. And we want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in tonight. And we also want to thank you for the long delay and the technical difficulties we've been experiencing for the last couple of weeks. It's been a headache for us, but we try hard because we love to bring you great guests, great content, and good banter between the Shark and I here on the Stoop. So as always, please head over to our website, www.stoopradio.com, where not only can you listen to tonight's show, but a lot of our past shows as well. And please check out that interview with the Glam Skanks that we did a couple of weeks ago at the Keswick Theater in Philadelphia. Awesome. And also check out our great content from our writers, Jeff, on the Stoop magazine, man. What do you think about some of the articles going up?
Got some great articles going up, and we'll give props to everybody that does some writing for us. Tim Simmons, who does our beer stuff, and Jeffrey Weinstein, and Brad, who just joined the team. Good friend of yours, Brad.
Yep.
CJ Joint. Just such great stuff. And the music that we've had. Tanya Seifert and Lilith in the Night, who bring us the introductory song. Sagan Amory. Just so many great artists, talented people. And we thank them for contributing. It's great. When you go on the website, there's a headline that says Stoop Magazine. You click it, you get all these articles. Really great pieces. Like I said, we talk about beer, we talk about politics, we talk about sports, and just so many different things. We really cover all the bases.
Absolutely. Good times here at the Stoop. So once again, thank you to actor Dominic Pace of NBC's Superstore for joining us. You can catch him on Superstore real soon. I believe it's March 24th that episode is going to air, which is a Friday night. So tune into that. He'll be on it as 23rd. Lenny. 24th, right?
23rd.
23rd. Sorry, Thursday night, March 23rd. Don't shoot the messenger. Good times, Jeff. Another good show wrapping up here tonight. And we'll be back Thursday night with actor Christian Lees. So for the Shark, Jeff Porrini, I am Jonathan Ragus. We'll see you all Thursday night.
Have a great night, everybody. See you Thursday. And don't be a douche.